Hi, this is Patty. What I'm going to show you today is how to cut out the inside angle on a heart using a hand cutter, your regular hand glass cutter. You can use saws, a bandsaw or a ring saw. I prefer not to use those. They're just loud and messy, and trying to keep them clean, it's just a big hassle. So if there's a way to cut stuff out by hand, I always prefer to do it that way. It's just me. So anyways, here's one I did last night. I do a lot of these heart-shaped things. They make nice little gifts. I put things on them and drill a hole and hang them. So I do a lot of these, and as you can see, it comes out to be a pretty nice heart shape. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and with practice, you should be able to do it too. I use a pencil cutter. I always have, because I cut sitting down, and I just like the way that this works, and I cut towards myself too, so the pencil cutter, it just fits me. That's just personally my favorite. I use the 1/8 inch breaker grozers. The 1/8 inch tip on this is what actually helps to get that extra glass out of that inside angle. It does make a mess, and it does take some practice. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I've got my heart drawn on my glass, and I always cut out it's my rule of thumb, and when I used to teach, I would teach it this way. If you always cut out your most difficult cuts first out of a piece of glass. That way, first, for many reasons. I mean, you're not wasting a whole bunch of time in cuts. You're not wasting glass, because if I would cut all the rest of this out first and then do this, if it happens to break, then I'm not going to be able to get the heart on here again. Not only that, when you're cutting like narrow, if this were shorter, leaving the rest of that glass on there gives you extra support when you're getting that extra glass out. If you've already cut this and it's 1 inch wide and you're going to try and get this out, you're not going to get it out without breaking it. So anyways, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my first little heart, and I'm going to stop right at that angle. That's contrary to what you've been taught. You should never stop a cut in the middle of the glass. I mean, I think everybody knows that. If you don't, then now you know. It's not a good idea. But in this particular case, it works. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my other cut after I've stopped and I took my cutter off the glass, and I'm going to go ahead and cut my other portion and blend it right out into the edge. So now I've got my original scores. Now I'm going to take and do some blended arcs. You'll be able to see it once I show you. It's just, I'm blending it into my original score. You don't want to cut, most of the time you don't ever want to cut perpendicular to your original score, because that usually leads to problems. So I'm going to do as many of these as I can fit in here. Not real small. I mean, you can do them as small as you want, but it makes a big enough mess anyways. Now I'm going to go ahead and do something that I just told you not to do, but in this particular portion, you want to do it. I turn it, and then I'm going to start at my original score, not in, but at my original score, and I'm going to just do a couple of cuts out to the edge like that. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it up here as close as I can. Can you see my scores? Okay, now I'm going to use my breaker grozers, and I'm going to use the flat jaw up, because that's the breaker part of your breaker grozers. If you turn it over and use the curved side up, that's when you're grozing. That's the way I learned it. I know you don't like to hear that, but that's the way I learned it. But that's actually what works best for me also, so I still do it that way. And also, I'm not going to be doing a grozing motion. Grozing is when you're chunking and breaking and chipping pieces of glass off. I'm actually going to be doing more of a pull out and a little bit down. See, comes right off. Go to the next one. Clean that up. Okay, and just keep taking those little arcs out and clean it up. I don't like to grind these either. It's a waste of grinding space. Waste of grinding time, because when you're going to be fusing these with glass on top of it, or this on top of glass, it's going to just fuse smooth, so you don't have to worry about grinding it. Okay, now we're getting down into the nitty gritty, and I'm going to do a little bit of grossing. And hopefully this one will work. I don't break many of them, so as you can see, we're getting right down into that corner. Now it's more of a grossing action, so I can turn this over. Okay, now I think I've pretty much got it. So just with some care and some practice, you can see that I've got an inside angle. Once in a while, you might get, I mean, I've done it a couple of times, not very often, but once in a while, you might get a little crack start here, and it doesn't break all the way through. I mean, it doesn't break apart, just a little crack that starts here. In fact, last night I fused one that did have a small crack that had started. But once you fuse it, especially on top of or underneath another piece of glass, like a base glass, it just fuses back together. You can't even see where the crack was on the one I did last night. So it literally fuses back together. But this is why you can't do it, or you shouldn't do it. It's just my personal opinion. When I see people doing inside angles like this on stained glass, I just cringe, because I mean, you may get lucky for a while, but after a while, you know, once in a while, it may last. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up cracking someday, just from stress, because that's actually putting stress on the glass right there, doing that inside curve, or inside angle, excuse me. But when you're fusing it, it's fusing it back together, so it works. So anyways, there, I've got it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out the rest of this and cut my base glass for it. But there you can see there is an inside angle on that heart. And once you put it, and I usually back these in clear, and you can see that once it fuses, it looks pretty darn good. So give it a try. Thanks. Bye.